running a menopause camp has been in my mind for about the last 3 years. But I'm a real believer in letting things happen organically, and I needed to feel right about it in myself, actually. In order to run it, I needed to feel that I'd dealt with the issues that menopause had brought up for me. We've been running a health and fitness retreat, team boot camp, for the last 10 years now. So all of the kind of training experience with the nutrition, with our wonderful Karen that we have here now, nutrition experience, along with kind of my mindset experience, I feel we've got all the right ingredients now for menopause camp. And in empowering women, that's the key thing for me. It's bringing women back to themselves, if that makes any sense to anybody. That's the key thing for me, really. So I'm so excited about it. It's finally here.
I think my own experience, really, going through the menopause myself and working with female clients and helping them and empowering them to be able to show them that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we can work through all the things that the menopause throws at us, and to be able to come out and to find who we once were and to get back to being who we were. And just showing them that, having that like Paula said, empowering women, and to do that is just an amazing feeling to have and to be able to do it. I truly believe that I started the menopause at 39 because I had my son at 39, but I wasn't diagnosed until 44 of going through the menopause. And I, hand on heart, I know I can't actually say that this was happening to me, but the things that were happening to me, looking back and in hindsight, all these things were happening were definitely related to the menopause. But for somebody who just had a young baby, and then I just put it down to having my son. Life was challenging. The way I felt, my mood was so low. Everything I just put down to I'd had my son, and that was it. And it wasn't until the year I was 44, my periods actually stopped. And when I went to the doctors, I finally went to the doctors and made the appointment. Even though I was 44 and I'd explained everything that was happening, I was very lucky because I didn't actually go and see a GP. I actually saw the nurse, and straight away she said, "You're perimenopausal." But the symptoms, the fatigue, the anxiety, the way that I was feeling, not just the physical side of the periods were all over the place, the brain fog, everything that I was experiencing, like I said, I put it down to my having my son so late. But actually, it was the perimenopausal, those were the symptoms that came to it. Now, all I ever wanted to do was feel better. I went on search of everything to try and feel better. So I stopped drinking. I completely cut alcohol out because I felt as if alcohol was causing the anxiety, but I now know that the anxiety was probably related to the perimenopausal. The brain fog, the lack of sleep, everything was all related to the menopause. Now, the nurse rightly said to me, this is what's happening to you. What I want you to do, the gold standard is go on to HRT, but you need to go away and do your own research. And that's what I did. And I honestly came out of that clinic absolutely heartbroken because I was 44 and I thought my world had come to a complete end. I thought I was really old. No one at this time was speaking about the menopause. So I felt I was completely alone. I felt as if everything was just tumbling down on me. I honestly thought that was it because I'd seen my mum go through the menopause and it was like this old thing. My mum had cervical cancer and she actually was early because she had a hysterectomy at, if I remember, it was 35. So she was put into the menopause quite early on. But again, she went through it without the support, without the help, without even talking about it. It was just something that she had to just get on with. And that's what I thought, that's what was going to happen to me. And that's how I started to live my life. And even when I was diagnosed then as being menopausal, like I said, it was very taboo. Even only 4 years ago, it's not spoken about as it is now. We're getting more and more people talking about it, and which is absolutely amazing. But even only 4 years ago, hardly anybody was talking about it. So I felt very alone. And I went and did my own research, and I researched day and night for a whole month to find what it was that was actually happening to me. I wanted to know the ins and outs with what was physically going on with my body and how I then could come out the other side.
My story, it may not seem relevant if I explain it from the beginning, but when I was in my late teens, I was diagnosed with manic depression, which is called bipolar now, which affected me really, really badly. So I have spent a whole lifetime understanding and looking into a lot of the symptoms actually that women have during the menopause, which is low mood, brain fog, depression, severe anxiety. I had a point in my life where I wouldn't even leave the house. I was too terrified. I also suffered from infertility, polycystic ovaries and endometriosis, which is very key actually into when my menopause symptoms started. I did something very similar to Karen. I found myself, after years and years of living with bipolar and managing it, all of a sudden I felt my symptoms were coming back, but they were coming back like a train. Yeah. They were worse than they'd ever been. And quite literally, I felt I had two choices. One of them was to literally leave this world, because that's how I felt. I cannot do this again. I can't. I just don't have the energy to do it. But that little old PAULA spark in my belly from somewhere was like, no, I have had enough of this. I am not letting this affect the next 30 years of my life. And so in exactly the same way that Karen did, I think we probably researched different things, which is amazing because together we can bring something really good. I took a year, this last year, out of camp really, and put my heart and soul into living with menopause. And I can honestly say, and this is why I feel like I want to stand on the rooftops and shout it to women, this is the best time of your life. You are wise beyond anything. You are powerful. You're incredible. And I really want to share that with women. I think it actually breaks my heart to think that women feel that feeling that I know so well, and I know Karen does as well, that that's it, it's over. I'd always had problems, gynecological problems throughout my life. So I went to the doctor. The doctor said, you're perimenopausal, and gave me estrogen, HRT estrogen. And I went batshit crazy. I went even worse. As a result of this, again, back to the board to search what happened. And I went and had a really comprehensive DNA test. And in that DNA test, I discovered that I don't methylate estrogen, which means that I'm always estrogen dominant, which explains why I had polycystic ovaries, why I was infertile, why I had endometriosis. So it was like a huge sigh of relief. And off the back of that, I went to, I didn't really trust I don't know whether I should say this, to trust the GP so much. I went and looked into bioidentical hormones. That worked for me. And I then had so many bloods done completely across the board to find out what was really happening. And it was just such a relief for me. Finally, tens of years of suffering were finally explained. And I take bioidentical HRT now, and I take progesterone and testosterone.
I honestly thought I was losing my mind constantly because the brain fog was so bad. I couldn't retain information. Anything that somebody had told me, unless I wrote it down, I used to forget constantly. I'd do random things. I'd find things in the fridge. Remote controls to the TV would always be in the fridge, or milk would be in the cleaning cupboard, and things like this. And I know we can laugh at it now.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But at the time,
I thought he was going nuts. Yeah.
I thought I was going absolutely bonkers.
Yeah.
And it's that, because you've got to that certain point in your life, and it's like Paula's just described it. We should be thriving. We should be at a time of our life where we feel at our peak. And I felt as if I was not there at all. I felt completely helpless. I felt as if I was losing my mind completely. And I didn't feel as if I didn't know at that point how I was going to get out of it, because I didn't realise it was the menopause at that particular time. And I think that's where you can, especially around the time, you start worrying as if, well, if this is happening to me now, exactly as you've just said, how am I going to be in the next 10, 20, 30, 40 years if I feel like this now? You can't see any light at the end of it. It's quite distressing. It's that in itself brings on even more anxiety, even more stress, worrying about, well, this is what I'm doing now. What on earth is going to happen in a few years' time? My driving was terrible at the time. I don't know about you, but my driving constantly was bad.
Yeah.
I'd regular, and to a point where my children would be in the car, and I had to really question whether or not I was safe to actually be on the road, because I'd be driving down the road and then I'd find myself on the other side of the road when it wasn't a one-way, when it was a two-way street, and then I'd see a car coming up and it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? But it was these kind of things that just kept happening, and I was thinking, what's going on?
Despair, total, complete and utter despair. I was angry. I was so angry. I was horrible to people. My anxiety went through the roof. My brain fog, I'm sitting here laughing when Karen's talking about her brain fog. I mean, that's still an issue for me. And I think something with brain fog, I don't know whether you've had this, it's so horrid. You think you're getting dementia, but it frustrates other people because you're trying to find a word. I know you look at me, Craig, and like, come on. What are you saying? And it's just and that really knocked my confidence, especially with coaching and having my own business and knowing I'd go into meetings. The back of your mind knowing that at any minute you could lose a word or just really knocked my confidence. So I just felt so underconfident and anxious. They were my biggest things. Ugly, fat, underconfident. I had low self-esteem and really badly anxious were my biggest things, biggest issues.
When we think about those times, I don't even have to go back that far. I only have to look at my mum. I think ladies then were struggling, and they were just expected to just get on with life, and the menopause wasn't looked the same as it is now. I feel I don't know, it's hard because I just don't think the support was there all those many years ago. And we hear so many stories all those many years ago that ladies did feel as if they were losing their mind. And I think, is it in the 50s? Maybe I might be wrong there with the era, but they were put into the mental institutions because even people around them thought they were losing their mind, but actually it was the menopause.
Yeah.
Which is scary.
Still nowadays, if you look at the distribution of or the dynamic of people that are in or the demographic, what word am I looking for? Of
all
people
of those
that are in mental institutions, they tend to be perimenopause, menopausal women. They're still struggling.
Am I safe sat
Not
here?
really.
Because it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Right, okay, yeah, bit sort of tongue-in-cheek, like, having a laugh about it, but, I mean, there's some desperate people back then, and I'm pretty sure there's some pretty desperate people, right now. So, what?
Oh, I was just going to say, though, you're saying laughing about it. That's one of the things that I want to bring to Menopause Camp. I want to bring women together so that they can talk about it and they can laugh about some things. And there's something in that unity, that understanding of how each other feels that brings a lot of strength and comfort to women, I think. So I think it's important to laugh. There's never any laughter at anybody's experience.
And I think the more you speak to women, the more that you realise we've all actually got so much in common. We feel very alone at the time, but actually, as we start sharing stories and symptoms and things that have happened, actually we've got more in common that we actually realise. I think something that you touched on about the rage changed my life in a sense where I completely had to change my life, because my rage only ever came out on the children. And it was first thing in the morning when we were getting ready for school. Bear in mind, my children were younger then, and they had children at that age. They were only, what were they then? 4, 5 and 9. No concept of time. We were trying to get ready for school, and all they were doing as being children, taking their time. But I could go from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds, just because they hadn't got the shoes on when I anticipated for them to get the shoes on. And it was like then the whole cycle of then dropping them off at school and that guilt that I felt from me reacting to the way that all they were doing as being children, that then stayed with me for the rest of the day. So how then did that change my life? I had to change my life in order to create that period in the morning to try and stop that from happening, because they were just being children. They had no concept of time. So I used to get up, I still get up really early in the morning, do all the things I need to do, and so the morning flowed better, and I then were in much better control, and I very rarely now lose that. It can still happen, but it can go from 0 to 100 very, very fast, and I had to change everything.
Yeah, mine was overeating and just complete self-sabotage. I think you get when you're...
What aspects of life, though? We say self-sabotage, so many different...
Every aspect of my life. It affected my life with you, affected my life with my family, because I'd retreat so that I didn't hurt anyone or was horrible to anyone. I'd just retreat into my shell and hide away. Camp, I felt like I couldn't cope with people at work. So, yeah, affected every single aspect of my life. I think a lot of women, some have had really professional careers. Some of them have been dedicated mums all their life, used to multitasking, used to being organised, used to being, the matriarch almost of their households. And all of a sudden, something happens to you and you become completely the opposite of everything you've been. And I think that comes as a real shock to a lot of people. It's quite devastating.
I think it's also, it can be quite subtle.
Yeah.
So it's not like you suddenly wake up one morning and you are now menopausal. It happens over a period of time. So as these things start happening to you, you start questioning, well, what's wrong with me? What is it? Why do I feel like this? And you're constantly thinking, there must be something wrong with me. And you start looking at other areas of your life, because it isn't just you wake up and you're menopausal. These things happen over a period of time. And as they happen and you're questioning your self-belief, the things that you're doing, it's like you start thinking that there's something wrong with you. And a lot of people won't share with other people because they're afraid of someone saying, well, yeah, there is something wrong with you. And I think that's where a lot of people will feel alone, because they may be afraid of voicing the way that they feel. Maybe, especially like you touched on, if people have got high successful careers, that could be shown as a sign of weakness. These are things that ladies don't want to share, because all of a sudden now they're not the woman who they once were. So it's almost like we're admitting as well that we're in a stage of our life where we can't have children anymore, or we're going through a different part. So it's not the fact that they feel alone. I think a lot of the time they're struggling to share with them because of maybe acceptance of actually going through the menopause, but also knowing that these things are happening to them and not really understanding what it is.
I think if we allow it to be, I think one of the things that I would like, and all three of us are bringing something, different to camp. The one thing for me is for people to open themselves up to the possibility that they can step into who they really are. Thinking this is who I once was is actually not true. This is who you still are. And we're opening the doors to what you can become, which is really wonderful. I think we get so lost in these terrible symptoms. We lose ourselves. I just feel like I want for us, for people to understand that it isn't the case, and that they can tap into the strength within them. And that's what menopause camp is all about. It's not going to be healed in a week, but I can promise people that they will have all of the tools that they need to go out and do the research and become who they they want to be. It's just a path back to themselves and to the women that they are. I really feel strongly about that, and I think now is the time for women to shine. No bigger time than now. Menopause is out there. This is our time. I think it's time for women to reclaim, dare I say it, the goddess within us. That's really what it is. It's shine. It's your time now. And that's what this program means to me. And I'm interested to know, what it means to you two as well, because you've asked us loads of questions, Craig, but you're the one that's training these.
Yeah, and just listening to you there, the one thing that kind of keeps popping into my head is, a great analogy, and it's just when he thought that life was over, the caterpillar emerged a beautiful butterfly, and that's that kind of sums up, I think, what you're saying there. How did the idea come about the menopause camp?
It's something that's been niggling me for about 3 years. I see a lot of menopausal women at camp, and the one thing that I notice with them is a lot of them have the same struggles. One of them is that they're, from a training perspective, that their bodies, I'm talking generically now, not about everybody, because some women come and they just blow your mind. They're so fit and healthy, but generally women are struggling from the same aches and pains. Their bodies are not working for them in the same way that they used to. So that's the first thing. The second thing is my experience. And I've had a problem with food, as you know, and in this last year, one of the things that I've started to do is to eat clean, and it's had huge impact on me. So I think a camp that delves into the nutrition a little bit more than what classic camp, our conventional camp, does at the moment, I think is massively important. And also moving our bodies in a slightly different way. So the Pilates, the yoga, Qigong. So learning to love our bodies again and realise that actually they're capable of a lot more than we really think they are, but in a much more gentle, loving, beautiful way. That's come about via my experience over the last year, my own personal experience. Karen joining us from a nutrition perspective, and you being such an amazing trainer, Craig, and understanding that women as they get older do need to be trained slightly differently. I think that's really important, and giving, so again, it's just empowering.
Food has such a big part to play, and when we get to the middle age, the 40s, we've been living a life in a certain way, and rightly or wrongly, if we've been eating a diet which hasn't been serving us, we are going to have that negative effect on how we feel. And the hormonal response of that isn't great, what's happening internally. So we're not only battling against the symptoms and the menopause, we're making it harder for ourselves because of the diet that we're actually eating at that time of life. Now, food, if we can look at food and change it in a way that serves us and makes us feel more energized, it's regulating the hormones and finding equilibrium, and we feel, and ultimately all we want to do is feel better. We want to feel better, and we can do that through the food that we eat. And a lot of the time, most ladies, they come, even at camp, they'll come and they just don't know where to go. It's showing them, giving them the education around food and explaining to them, if we eat in a certain way, if we clean up the diet, we reduce the amount of sugars that we're eating, we're reducing alcohol, actually that will make you feel better. And not only will it make you feel better, it will change your health, it will change your body, it changes your life. So diet has a huge part to play in the way that we live in our lives, the way that we feel. Like I said, ultimately we want to feel great. And when we don't feel good, that's when we start to struggle, because when we feel lethargic or we have low energy, the mood's low, and it makes all the symptoms even worse than what we were experiencing before. So nutrition, the food, the diet has a big part to play on how we feel, how we show up for ourselves. And I think if we can start to tap into that and educate all the ladies around nutrition, I think then mindset starts to change, the way they move the body starts to change, the life starts to change, and it all starts with what they're eating.
I think in order to make big changes in your life, you've got to want the change and you've got to be ready for the change. So I think at the right time, it would have been hugely beneficial. And I'm incredibly confident about that, because it is an amalgamation of everything that I went out and did for myself and Karen has done for herself. I think the most important thing is people need the desire for change. That's really key, because it does have to come from yourself. And I'm maybe saying some of the things that I say, when we've spoken before on other programs about other programs that camp runs, but I think that's the key thing. I think it's a belief that you can change. It's not a quick fix.
No.
Right.
It's
Damn.
yeah, it isn't a quick fix.
Well, you say that, but I mean, a week, 6 days, 7 nights, it is relatively quick. I mean, what are you going to achieve in that?
I think over that 6-night period, I think the ladies will feel better, because they'll be moving the body, they'll be eating better. We're doing work around mindset. So ultimately, yes, it is a quick fix in terms of instant gratification, how they feel within that short period of time. But it's then, the journey then starts when they then go home. The journey then starts knowing that they have the capability of being able to make the change, because we've given them these tools within that week to be able to go off and still keep using the tools to be able to feel even better and to come back to the person who they once were, or they want to become.
don't want people to come and think they're going to be healed in a week, but they will really have, if they're open to it, a huge impact into how they can feel, because I can promise people that they will feel empowered and so much more alive and so much more supported and unified, if that makes sense, and clean from the food that they're going to eat. Just a wonderful feeling of empowerment and cleanness and aliveness. So, but that needs to be sustainable for themselves, and that's what will give them the platform, almost the structure, to making big changes.
I would say the nutrition, definitely, because it's the education around it. I think most ladies really struggle with the nutrition. You get to a certain point around menopausal time because of the weight gain and the diets that you've tried in the past. You get to that point where you just don't know another way out. So being able to give them that education, those tools to go off and create the body that they once had or they desire, is amazing. The next thing is the yoga. I think yoga is a big part of any lady's menopausal journey. I think it helps to bring awareness into the body. It helps to use the breath. So if anybody is suffering from anxiety and stress or suffer from sleep deprivation, yoga is such an amazing activity that you can tap into for lots of reasons as to why to do it. Yoga was a big part of my journey when I first became menopausal, because of how it made me feel. It made me feel as if I became that awareness in my body, that the empowerment that I felt, the strength that I was creating by doing a yoga practice, I didn't feel at that particular time when I was first diagnosed. I came away from the gym, actually. I didn't, even though I've trained all my life, I actually took a step back from exercise because I kept thinking I shouldn't be exercising. I actually went down more yoga, but the yoga actually empowered me. It gave me strength. It made me feel alive while I was on the mat, and that's developed a practice that I do on a regular basis. But also it took the love then back into training, because I realised I've got the strength. I am capable of doing all of these things. So if anybody comes on the camp and has not done yoga, I think it's such a beautiful practice to do. It's an amazing experience to actually share with somebody who's new to yoga, for them to connect back to the body and connect back to the breath.
One thing that Karen has brought to camp, as we are at the moment, I know a lot of people that, especially sometimes older women, are afraid of yoga because they think they can't. But what Karen has shown us at camp is we have a program called the Conquer Food program, and there are people that literally can't get up and down off of the floor. Some of them that come on that program, and they're all participating in yoga. So anyone who thinks, oh, I can't do yoga, no, absolutely not. And we're proving that at camp at the minute, which is with wonderful feedback, Karen. So that's really good. So I just wanted to add that. For me, well, Karen's got the nutrition in the bag, and the kind of education around that. For me, the thing that I'm really excited about is some of the workshops we're going to do on kind of sisterhood, on unity, on bringing women together, and sharing our experiences, and realising that from that day onwards, you're not alone. There's a whole community of people there to support you, to help you in your growth and development. So that's what I'm really excited about, the whole shouting from the rooftops, empowering. For me, when people leave, I want them to feel as if they've made friends with themselves and their body, and they appreciate how wonderful and amazing they are. And the other thing for me is visualization through meditation. I believe is a really empowering thing. So, I'd like to impart to people and teach people how they can create the life that they want through manifestation and meditation and visualization. So one of the things is, first of all, just on the In Touch, we have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful girl who does our sales for us called Priya. But the one thing I will say to Priya is, then if anybody wants to speak to me directly, then I am more than 100% happy. But I'm sure Karen as well, both of us will be more than happy to speak to people, prior to arrival if they've got any concerns. But we're doing things slightly differently to how we run camp at the moment. So people will arrive midday with us, and we'll have a little bit of an induction, and then they will spend one-to-one time with yourself, Craig, as a trainer, also Karen from the nutrition and lifestyle aspect, and me, mindset, so that we can delve down into what people's expectations are and what we can do, to help them. That's the first thing that we're going to do, which I think is really, really important. So people feel cherished from the moment they arrive, really. It is I'm talking about unity, but it is personal as well, because, I think the unity comes from us understanding that other people are suffering, but I think everybody's menopause journey is so completely different and it's unique to us, and it's happening to. We're going to start and finish every day with yoga. I can let Karen talk a little bit about that and why.
So starting in the morning, more energetic practice. But when I say energetic, again, if people listening to this might be thinking, I've never done yoga before, what does that look like? It's more about waking the body up. It's more about stretching and allowing the body to wake up naturally with the movements of getting us ready for the day ahead. So bringing some movement, a more energetic practice. And I can teach that class for the complete beginner to the more advanced, and I can do it with a whole group of people. So people don't have to worry if they've never done yoga before. That will be completely adapted for their ability. But really, it's more about how we wake up, the mind wakes up. We want to wake the mind up naturally and not have it stimulated by looking at maybe the news or whatever it may be. We're waking up in a more natural way and finishing the day in a more restorative way. So if we think when we wake up in the morning, we want to feel like we've got that get up and go. We have the motivation to actually go throughout the day and be able to do all the activities that we've got planned. But then as we come to the end of the day, we want to be able to switch off. We want to be able to relax. We want to be able to go to sleep. So that practice will be designed for deep relaxation, to be able to do the certain postures that will allow us to be able to relax and get into that deep sense of relaxation and be able to go to sleep at the end of the day. If we look at the diet at camp, it's not too much similar from that kind of diet. We're looking at minimally processed food, fresh food, reducing down on carbohydrates, on sugars, including proteins, having fats in there, vegetables and fruit in there. So the diet is a clean and healthy diet that's good. People will feel as if they are satiated, they're satisfied, they're getting all the nutritional needs, but more importantly, they'll have the energy for them to complete all the tasks or the exercise that we present to them throughout the day. The body isn't broken, the metabolism isn't broken. Actually, we all have the ability to be able to lose weight and be able to show them and give them the tools to say, no, look, you can lose weight. Is it easy? No, it's not easy. But with the right mindset, with the right education, with the right support, we have the ability to be able to create the body that we desire.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And look younger.
Yeah.
Every day comprises of nutrition, lifestyle, training, mindset, but each day coming at it from a slightly different angle and different way, so that some days will resonate more with with others. But it's bringing those key components together in a way that works for them. And that will be individual to them. Well, the support that will be available for them is to book one-to-one sessions if they want them for either mindset, nutrition, or training with yourself. So that's available throughout the whole week for them, should they want that. And then afterwards, we're going to have a closed Facebook menopause or New Horizons group where they can feel supported. They can still get advice. We'll really put some work into that. Me especially, because I'm a complete social media phobe. I know nothing about it really, but I feel quite strongly, and I think for me, carrying on that unity is really important. So this will probably be more supportive than what we've done with other camps. I think that is an integral part of what I want to bring to people's lives, is that ongoing support and sisterhood, almost exactly what it is. Sure. Meditations on their visualizations, menus, dietary things. I think that's really important that we develop and build that. I think for me, it's how I will know is that they are achieving all of the things they set for themselves, and they have an unlimited amount of self-belief, and they are able to navigate their life positively. Now, 1 week out of a whole year tells me that they're going to be doing most of the work. So I think if they see Menopause Camp as their platform, a platform for them to jump from almost.
Yeah, it's like the event horizon, yes, the pivotal moment or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where they get a shift.
Yes.
It's a fork in the road.
100%.
Whatever analogy you want, that's what it is.
Yeah, for me.
For somebody to feel empowered and how they can start straight away, they need to be setting themselves some small tasks every single day which set them up for success. And that could be, I am going to go out for a 20-minute walk. Under promise, over deliver. So if you're already living a busy life, the fact, if it is that you go out for a 20-minute walk, but actually you walk for 30 minutes, you'll feel at the end of the day like you've really achieved something. So set yourself 3 tasks that you can do every day, which is based around things that are going to drive you closer towards the goal that you're trying to achieve. So it could be, like I said, going out for a 20-minute walk. It could be drink water. Eat 3 meals and only one snack, something like that.
Yeah, and reading, positive reading.
All of those.
A ton of stuff, yeah.
But at the end of the day, review them. And then by reviewing them, you feel then as if you're achieving something. And even if you don't achieve them, it's about understanding why you have not achieved it. So if you can put your hand on your heart and say you've tried your very best, and whatever's happened in your day, if you didn't achieve it because whatever's happened, but you've tried your best, that is okay. You have to make peace with that, and that's okay. If you get to the end of the day and think, well, no, I didn't try my best, I could have done X, Y, and Z, it's about reframing that and thinking, well, how can I make that better the next day? So it's drawing a line underneath it and being able to move past it and get better the next day.
I would say take really small steps to start making friends with the pause. And what I mean by that is I know from my menopause symptoms, the rage, the anxiety, I became them. So I think if every time we start to feel out of sorts, your blood starts boiling, you start to feel anxious, stop. Take a deep breath, pull yourself away from it, take a moment to relax, and then carry on. Now, one thing that's really good that you can do to help with this is to set an alarm on your phone or your watch or whatever, and every time it goes off, just stop. How was I feeling? What am I doing? Take a nice deep breath and just pause. Just give yourself a moment to let everything relax and then move on again. So it's just making friends with starting to change your state or become aware of how you're living and bring yourself into the moment, because the moment is the most powerful. It is the only time you can make big changes is in the moment. And that's something that I think is really key to healing and to moving through a lot of mindset symptoms that we have. So it's start taking a pause, make friends with the pause. If you're serious about change, then change, because change is wonderful things happen and there's a whole world of possibilities out there.